Well, good evening and welcome to another Case Filters live interview. My name's Ruth Taylor. If you've not been with us before, I host these sessions on behalf of Case Filters Global, and we speak to their top photographers and ambassadors every month. And I'm here tonight with our guest photographer, Rafn, and whose surname I'm not going to attempt to pronounce. I know. Sig. He said I can say Raf Sig. So Rafn, we're going to just call him Rafn. Hi, Rafn. We're going to come over to Rafn in just a moment. Just in case you haven't been here before, though, if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook Live, there are live chat boxes in both of those. Do feel free to ask Rafn questions throughout the evening. We're going to aim for kind of an hour, so hopefully be here till around about 9 o'clock if you're watching live, that is. So do feel free to use the chat box. Let us know where you're joining us from as well. And if you do want to catch up on this again, or if you'd like to share it with anybody, you can, of course, do that just after we've finished. Just give it a few minutes and it should hopefully be available for rewatching if you really want to, or you can share that as well. So anyway, we're going to crack on. As I said, I'm here with Rafn, who is a native Icelandic photographer. Landscape and nature documentary photographer is his chosen title, and Case ambassador as well. Rafn, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, it's my pleasure.
It's good. It's good. There's no time difference tonight. I believe it's the same time in Iceland as it is in the UK. Is that right?
Yeah, it's 8 o'clock.
It's 8 o'clock. Okay, cool. So don't have to worry. If you start yawning, I'll just take offense. It's not tiredness. It's something else. Rafn, I mentioned your title, Icelandic landscape and nature documentary photographer, which I definitely want to explore in just a few minutes. But first of all, I mean, how is Iceland today? Is it spring yet? What's it like up there just now?
Well, we actually don't know. It's spring
dark
today. Okay. It was winter yesterday and will be winter tomorrow. It's just Iceland. If you stay at the same time, same spot for 15 minutes, then you get it all.
You get everything.
Yeah, but we expect the spring to come maybe in a month or so.
Okay. So long winters, I imagine, much the same as Scotland up there.
Yeah, it has been a long winter.
Yeah.
And the problem with the spring, the colors are rather dull. Everything is yellow. So now is the time to be home and develop your photos.
Okay. Well, there's good things to every season. We're going to come back to the seasons and all the rest of it in a little bit. Let's go back to the beginning though, Rafn. I mentioned you're a native Icelandic photographer, and I believe you were actually an oil painter before you first picked up a camera. Tell us just when and why you first kind of picked up a camera and started doing that. It's an unusual story.
Yeah, it's true. I when I was young, I was out in the field painting landscape in oil. And as you probably know, that Iceland has a difficult weather and it's always changing.
Yeah.
And it was one time when I was out there painting that started to rain and the wind came. So I had to pick everything together, run into my car. And I was going to wait there until the rain and everything finished. Then I started thinking, it must be a better way to do this. And my mother has an old Kodak Instamatic camera, with the flash cube that turns on the top.
Yeah.
And I went home, borrowed her camera, went up there again, took several photos, and went home. Took it to the developer, and after 10 days, I got the pictures. I opened the envelope, looked at the pictures. Wow, they were terrible. Oof. But it showed me the lines, and I remember the colors. So after that, I started only going out, taking the landscape photo, brought them home, and carry on painting. And that's why I started to take photos. They were absolutely terrible to begin with. And when I say terrible, they were terrible.
Really bad.
And after a while, I thought I could do a little bit better than this and bought me a better camera. And from there, it started to come a little bit until the photos were better than my oil painting. So I stopped painting landscapes in oil, started to draw fantasy oil paintings, and kept the landscape for the camera.
For the photography.
Yeah, that's when I started to get photographed
So
yeah.
that's when you started using the camera. Tell us about I mentioned landscape and nature documentary photographer, which is it's a slightly unusual title. How does that differ then from just a landscape photographer or just a nature photographer? Why have you got documentary in there?
Well, actually, it's the same in many cases, but I noticed I am a master of electronic license, and I was repairing radars and LORANs and GPS on ships.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to go where the ship was. And that included, I was living in Reykjavik, but sometimes I had to go to the other side of Iceland. And then I started to, and usually I drove up there. Then I started to notice things were changing. And the more often I drove the same way, I saw the glaciers were getting smaller. I saw the lakes were getting bigger. The sand was getting bigger, or the desert, and things were changing, and the weather was getting more extreme. And I thought about myself, said to myself that someone has to document this. So I decided to call me a documenting photographer because I was going the same way. So I took the picture of the same places, maybe year after year. And then I started to see and realize how fast everything is changing. But still, I'm a landscape and nature photographer, but this is part of it.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a pretty big commission to give yourself the task of documenting Iceland. Is it just landscapes that you do that for, or do you actually? I mean, you mentioned obviously the glaciers are changing the face of Iceland and things like that. Is it just landscape, or do you actually do anything in the towns as well?
Yeah, just the other day I went into a home where an old man lives. And well, actually, I was documenting the neighborhood where I live. And it was rather cold. It was winter then. And when I was photographing his old farmhouse, he came out the door and invited me into his home. Well, he didn't give himself. He said he has an old stove that he wanted to show me. Okay, I went into his home, and when I came into his home, it was getting 100 or 200 years back. It was like coming into a national,
Wow.
the old things that he had. It was
Stepping back in
enormous.
time.
Yeah, and everything was so beautiful. He has polished everything. The leather was soft. And there I sat, I was taking picture of the things, talking to him how things were in the old days when his mother and grandmother, and it was fantastic. So yes, to answer your question, it's both landscape and what's left of the old things.
Yeah.
And I'm really lucky living 25 kilometers outside of Reykjavik in a small town called Vogar. And we are only 1,300 people living here. So you get to know everybody. And they tell you a story, where you should go, how you should do it. If this guy is strange in this way, so you have to approach him differently.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. So
Local
I'm also
knowledge.
Yeah. And so I'm also documenting the old things that is getting away from us.
Yeah. So, I mean, for those of us who haven't had the privilege of traveling to Iceland, tell me about it. I mean, it's not a huge country, but it's got a huge variation. You mentioned glaciers, volcanoes, all sorts of things. I mean, tell us about the diversity of what is in Iceland.
Yeah, well, it's a small island with a strange weather. You can get all the weathers here, and you have everything in a very small island. You have the glaciers, you have the geyser, you have streams. You can go out if you're hiking. You just go to your next stream and drink the water there. Still, it's clean and fresh. And if you're up in the highlands, you can get whatever you want. You can live on the highlands. It's not many people. We are only 280,000. So, but when the tourist comes, we are then 3 million.
Wow.
And that's a little bit crowded that's why the COVID was very good when nobody came. We got our land back. Sorry to say.
That's all right.
Now you have everything here packed in a small island, and you can do what you want, actually.
Yeah.
You are free. You don't have fences everywhere. So you have to take care of yourself.
So, I mean,
it's
like here,
freedom.
Yeah, here in Scotland, we have no trespassing laws, so people can actually travel where they want to. You know, they can climb over fences so long as they're not going to cause any damage. Is it similar in Iceland? You can walk onto
It's the same.
Yeah.
We try not to go over fences, but
sure, yes,
there are not so many fences here.
It's a big.
We throw our sheep out, and they just go up to the mountains. And in the autumn, we go up to the mountains and collect them back.
Yeah.
So
Freedom.
They are actually wild animals, even though we call them lamb or sheep.
I mean, you obviously documenting Iceland is a mammoth task. Practically, how does that work for you? I mean, do you go out daily? You mentioned already that you've seen the same places year after year, and you go back and you shoot those. But what do you kind of logistically? How do you do it? Do you plan areas that you're going to go back to time and again? Do you go back in different seasons? What does that actually look like for you?
Yeah, I plan to go back maybe after a year or 2 years to the same place. And I try to be at the exact spot and then photograph it.
Okay.
But for example, last year we had a volcanic eruption. It so happened that the week before that happened, I went to this area and put my drone up, and I documented the whole area. I worked on it on my computer, and then I released it. 2 days later, it started. So now I have the area without the volcano and also with the volcano.
Yeah.
That's documenting. And the other day, I went up to another place which they think it will come up again. And I spent there 2 days. Well, it's near my home. It's actually in my backyard. I went up there and I documented the whole area. And if it will come up there, then I got the area, and I will go up there again when the volcano comes and document it. How it will be.
Yeah. So because you are aware that there are eruptions potentially going to happen soon, will that always spur you to go to the area and capture some photographs, some footage? Edjacha in sorry, I probably butchered her or his name in the chat, is saying, is the volcano still erupting? That's the one you were talking about. I think that erupted last year. It's not. It's stopped. It's stopped.
Yeah. But that's another story. Then I have to go up there and document it again, since it has stopped, and see what we have lost or what we have gained.
Yeah, before and after. I mean, speaking of that, how do you go about showcasing what you're doing? I mean, I know you've got blogs, you do some videos. I mean, what's the main way that you show people what you're actually doing?
I have a website called Iceland Photo Gallery. and I bring my photos over there, and then I have a YouTube site. It's just my name, the beautiful name down there, Rafn Sigurbjörnsson.
I was going to say it, but then I thought, no, people can look. They can look at it on the screen and type that in.
And there I keep my videos.
Yeah.
I am not in videos that change. Then each shot is only 3 seconds. Each shot maybe a half a minute or 30 seconds or something like that. So it's slow, so you can see the surroundings. It's not the fast-moving videos.
Yeah, yeah. You've got music behind that. I know you're a composer as well. Is the music on your videos things that you've composed yourself?
Yeah, compose, play, record, and put them on. I usually make the music how the video gives me the
Makes
inspiration.
you feel. Yeah. So tell us about your books, Rafn. I know you have released 8 books on Iceland, covering north, south, east, west, and various other parts. I'm not sure. I'm sure they're all in north, south, east, or west. But you got 8 books that you've released. Is this all part of the documentation? Yeah.
Yeah, it is actually. Each book focuses on the one part of Iceland. That is north, south, east, west, Highland, Reykjavik, and so on.
Yeah.
And I try to show there my older photos, not the newest one. So if there is something changes and people have the book, oh, this is not like I see it now.
Yeah, yeah.
That was the focus on it anyway.
Yeah.
And they are relatively small books, so it's easy to carry with you and even put in your pocket.
This is an ongoing project that's just going to go on as long as I'm able to do that.
Yeah, it will carry on.
Yeah, just keep going. There's no end point. Just when you've come to the end of.
Yeah, I realized that I will not live long enough to document everything. Even you will not live long enough to do it either. So it's just a starting point of something. Yeah. Hopefully someone else will carry on.
Carry on the baton. You mentioned how hugely popular Iceland is now, and it's become an absolute mecca for landscape photographers. There are so many pictures all over social media from photographers who go over there for a week or two. In your opinion, as someone who's lived there, obviously, I assume since birth, how has Iceland changed in the last few years since all the, I can see you smiling, since all the tourists have kind of come with their cameras, for better or for worse? And I'm sure there's both.
Yeah, economically it's much better, but for the landscape it's not as good. Some people are not, they don't care. They tramp Iceland down.
Yeah.
But they are mainly on road number 1.
This is the ring road.
That's the ring road. If you start here, then you will end up here again. And that's why maybe I am not documenting what's happening actually on the ring road. We have millions of photographers doing that. I prefer to go up to the highlands or to the other part of Iceland that is not so familiar and people don't know about. Like here in Reykjanes, where I live, there's a lot of beautiful places and hidden gems that nobody knows about.
Yeah.
And those are the places I try to go to. Also up in the highlands, where people are not traveling. Both it's dangerous and yeah, you can get lost there. Even it's small.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned before people don't care very much, and you see that in a lot of places around the world that have become really, really popular with photographers. I mean, if anyone's watching who is planning going, or who has been before, what's something people can do better as photographers?
Respect the nature, respect the land. You see, in Iceland, like everyone else, we have 12 months in the year. 9 of this month are winter.
Yeah.
So nothing is growing then. We have 3 months, and only 1 month of that is when the plant can grow again. So the landscape, everything takes a lot of time to grow again. If you tramp down a plant, it won't come again maybe until after 10 years or so.
Wow.
So please be careful if you come.
Watch where you're putting your feet.
Respect the nature.
Yeah.
That's what we learn here in Iceland since we were kids. Respect it. Don't do it.
Yeah.
And we respect everything. We try to take care of it, and yeah, it's vulnerable.
I'm assuming it's quite like Scotland in that there's probably, like you say, the ring road is a very popular thing. There'll be several, I imagine, very, very popular spots that are perhaps more tramped down than others. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember a few years back, I went with my wife, Eden. I wanted to show her a beautiful waterfall called Gullfoss. No, Skógarfoss, sorry. Yeah, we drove there. It's a 3 hours drive. And when we came to the waterfall, we couldn't find a parking space. It was completely full. I said to her, that's okay. Let's just take the next one. So we went to the next one, and it was also completely full. We couldn't get a parking space. That was too much. So anyway, I just took a side road and showed her a lot of other beautiful stuff.
Go back in the winter. Is that something you can do with the long winters? Obviously, waterfalls are, I'm guessing, at their best when they're not frozen.
They are beautiful when they are frozen. They are more beautiful, actually. And the light is much more beautiful. The sunset and the sunrise, it takes much longer time than in other places because the sun is going this way down, not this way down. So, and the sky is red, yellow, violet. But usually in that time it's rather cold. So dress well.
That was something I was going to, I was going to come on to that. I mean, obviously most visiting photographers will come in slightly milder months. You've got the privilege of being there year round. So obviously you get to go out in the Icelandic winters, which I'm guessing can be quite dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. But, if people are there in the winter, how do you shoot then? What's the difference between shooting in summer and winter, apart from obviously the very, very short hours?
Well, we have sometimes daylight only 4 hours.
Wow.
And if it's raining, then you don't have daylight. But you have to be at the place at the right time. Usually, like the standard, be there 1 hour before. Dress well, take care, have crampers on your shoes, and be prepared for everything. Have a nice hot cacao with you or coffee.
Hot drink, yeah.
Enjoy it, actually. The winter time for me is much more beautiful than the summertime.
Do you get the northern, I'm guessing you have northern lights, auroras and all the rest up there?
Yeah. We have it up here.
All the time.
When it's not raining or cloudy. Well, the aurora, it comes when the sun has erupted 3 days earlier, and then it comes down to the earth, and you can see that on many websites, the forecast. So it's much easier now than it was before. But strange thing, we didn't notice the northern lights until the tourist traffic started. It was just hanging up there always. We were just used to it, lying in the hot tubs, and it was up there. Then the tourists came. No, it was just one of our culture. It's just like living in, for example, where I live. I open up the curtains in my bedroom when I woke up. I said, "Oh yeah, the volcano is still alive." Okay. and before the volcano came, we had maybe 400 to 2,000 earthquakes every day. So this is our life. This is something that you get used to. You live by it,
Normal for you,
and
yeah.
you start to notice it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's what's the tourists come, and it's good in a way because you start to, I suppose, appreciate maybe stuff that you did take for granted before. I know that's the same in Scotland. You get very, very used to the landscape, and then people come up, they tell you how lucky you are and how amazing it is, and they go back to their city, and you actually go, yeah, it is actually, and maybe I've taken it a bit more for granted than I used to. Iceland obviously is just full of wonders. You've got your glaciers, you've got volcanoes, you've got erupting geysers, you've got all sorts of things going on. I mean, tell us about the volcanoes, because this is something that hardly anybody else in the world has got erupting volcanoes going on near them. How many active volcanoes do you have on the go? I mean, is it a normal thing to have volcanoes just erupting?
Well, we have nothing now, but we are waiting for some 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 volcanoes that will hopefully not, but we expect them to blow up anytime. Yeah, this is part of our
Yeah, it's part of
culture
your
to
life.
wait for them. And well, what can I say? It's when you're standing against a volcano, you feel how small you are. You are absolutely nothing. You cannot change anything. And the only thing that you can do is run away if the lava comes flowing at you. But be on the right side.
Yes, know where you are, know where your escape
Have the
route
wind in your
is.
back.
Yeah, yeah.
Not in front of you because of all the gases. And this is also part of what you learn when you live here, how to treat the volcano.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen shots of yours. I've obviously seen wide shots with your drone photography, which I'll come on to in a little bit, but I've seen close-up shots as well of rolling lava coming towards you, and the tracks of what I'm assuming is car vehicles further back, just showing the actual progress, which is fantastic to me. But I mean, you're shooting that lava, what looks like quite close up. From a safety point of view, you mentioned the gases. How do what are the wise things to do when you're shooting that? Is it just a case of knowing where to run back to, or knowing how fast the lava's going? These are unusual questions for me, but I'm assuming that it's quite normal
Yeah,
for you.
now this is reasonable. Yeah, of course you have to. When you come to a volcano, you have to check what's happening around you. How fast is the lava going? How near can I go? But that's decided by the heat. How much heat is coming from the lava? And in the end, the rescue squad will come and tell you to go away. Anyway, you have to know what you're doing. Keep the wind in your back. And we are lucky today that you have zoom lenses, so you don't have to go all the way up to it. But people in Iceland, we do it. We go all the way, and we clap the hot stones and say, yeah, it's pretty hot.
You just want to. You see lava, you want to be as close as possible, I imagine. It's just a fascinating thing to see.
Yeah, it is. But the lava tells you to go away because of the heat that's coming around you. You can't stand it. You have to.
You can't be stupid.
Walk back again. Yeah.
Yeah. Mentioned the long winters, obviously. Sorry, the long winters and the short days. What about the opposite then? What about then the summer, where you've got very, very long days? And I mean, how long is your blue hour? Your sunset sunrise hour compared to a lot of other places?
Well, in the summertime, you have the same. You have maybe now you have the sunshine, the 24-hour in some part of Iceland. So if you go to the north, you can stand there on the midnight and take a photo of the midnight sun. So we don't sleep in the summertime. We sleep in the wintertime. No, it's beautiful also. And the blue hour and the golden hour, it's the blue hour is 1 hour before, and the sunset can take up to hour, 2 hours.
Wow.
I haven't noticed, if I tell you the truth. I
A
just
good
go
place
there
for
and
beginner photographers. You can try again and again and again, and if you don't get your
yeah,
sunset shot, you've got 2 hours to actually capture that.
yeah. Like I said, the sun is going this way down.
Mm,
It's not going this way.
yeah, yeah,
So you got much longer time, and the colors get more extreme and more extreme until they poof,
yeah.
they're gone.
And then
And
it's
then you have
sunrise
the
again.
northern lights.
Yes. Yeah, you're going to get a lot more tourists coming, I think, if you keep talking about Northern Lights and endless sunsets, volcanoes, and I mean, hot springs, lava. Do you have a favorite? I mean, obviously, you love Iceland, you love the whole country, but is there a favorite kind of thing that you like to shoot besides, just capturing everything for your documentation?
Yeah, the emptiness. Lot of nothing.
Wow.
Go up to the highlands and see a small lake trying to get through the sand, and the moss is starting to grow on each side, and when the water stops, the moss stops also. I love to take photos of how life is starting or
Mhm.
how life is dying, actually, both things. And some of our moss is neon green. It's unusual color. That's my favorite moss, actually, and that's where you go up to the highlands and also to the wetlands. You get this neon green moss. It's it's neon green. It's hard to explain the color, but it's a neon green.
Very, very bright green. So
Yeah,
why is it like that?
it's because it's I don't know, probably something
There's
in
a reason.
it's yeah, there's a lacking of food or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
It's just there.
yeah. I mean, you're the
Pro-
shots. Sorry, carry on.
No, it's usually where there's a lot of wet going on, like
Yes.
in the wetlands. You see this moss a lot, so it's probably full of water or something like that.
It's like Scotland. With the wetter it is, the greener the moss tends to be. So
Yeah,
it's pretty, but you have to suffer the rain to actually get to it. Do you do close up photography at all, or is it mostly kind of the majestic, spectacular landscapes, or do you like to shoot things like the mosses and things like that as well?
yeah, I love micro shooting.
Uh,
Yeah, wow, that's another world.
yeah.
Have you tried it?
I haven't. I haven't. No. It
Oh,
looks like
that's it's
fun.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And use the technique of stacking the photos together.
Yeah.
That's when you take maybe 30, 40, 50 shots of one mushroom, stacking all the photos together and get one beautiful moss out of
Yeah.
it.
Wow.
And down there in the earth, that's another world. It's a beautiful world down there, actually. I really love it.
So you got the
It's
two.
this.
You
It's
got
the
the
same as the
extremes.
landscape
Yeah.
photography.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just another kind of landscape down there.
Exactly. You got the landscapes. You got right down in the earth. I mean, drone photography. Your drone photography it's unbelievable. It's spectacular, and obviously a lot of this is Iceland. It's a completely. I've seen drone photography before, but what I'm seeing of yours from Iceland is just it's spectacular. When did you start shooting
Thank
from the
you.
air? I mean, you're obviously you've started doing oils, then you started doing regular, what I would say, photography. Drone photography is a completely different thing again. When did that start for you?
Well, in school, when I was a young boy, there was another boy in my class. Then we grew apart and we met again. Then he was owned a helicopter service, Norðurflug, it is called. And he asked me if I could fly with him, take photos, and he could have some photos to advertise his company, and I could fly and do whatever I
Yeah,
want.
sounds good.
Well, I said yes, definitely.
Yeah.
So when I got into that, I saw Iceland in another totally different way. That's when I decided to buy a drone and learn and be a pilot myself. Because when you're in a helicopter, you fly rather fast and you have to be very fast in taking all the shots. Also, if you want to have them in focus and everything like that. But when you're your own pilot with your own drone, you can decide more the angle. Is it right this way or this way?
Yeah.
No, this one is better. And shoot it then.
Yeah.
Instead of in helicopter, it's gone.
You just have to take it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you do a lot of drone photography now? Is it? I mean, a lot of the newer stuff I'm seeing of you is drone stuff. Is that your kind of one of your favorite ways of documenting now? Because obviously you can cover, I guess, a far larger area.
Yeah, it does, and it shows different things. No, it's not my favorite rather than the camera. I like both because it's so very, very different.
Yeah.
You see, you have the macro, that's totally different. You have the landscape, you have the drone.
Yeah.
And then I also do a lot of caving, go inside caves. And that's another photography also. I have a good friend who is exploring the caves with me, or I am exploring the caves with him, more likely. And that's another beauty. Everything is so stone black and dark, you can't even feel your nose, you can't see anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. And if you stop for a while and listen, you hear the earth breathing, you hear the drops, blip, blip, blop, or whatever. You're alone, you're in the universe, you're everywhere, you're nowhere. It's beautiful.
You truly are everywhere. You're in the earth. You're above the earth. You're kind of on top of the earth.
And the colors in these, they are far out. They are far out. They are like the sunset. You have the red, you have the violet, you have everything. But then you come to the point you have to light up, and you have to get the right lightings for the photo that you're taking.
What does that look like in terms of, if you're in a cave, obviously there's not much in the way of natural light there. How do you light a cave in order to make it look slightly natural?
Yeah, then you have to have your light with you inside, and you are using the right Kelvin to get the daylight, actually. Or if you want to have it more yellowish or whatever. My friend, he is using flash. I like steady lights, so I can
see what you're doing.
see what I'm doing, instead of seeing it afterwards.
Yes.
It's a different approach to it. And if you get the same result, well, that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
We take different pictures. They are all good if we think they are good.
Yes.
At least I think so.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Individual appreciation. I mean, it's art in the end of the day. It's art. And, if you like that. I mean, speaking of, colors and composition, just going back to drones for a minute, when it comes to shooting drones and when you're doing the shots that are, straight down, how does your approach differ to kind of normal landscape photography? Because obviously you don't have your foregrounds in the mix. Your settings are going to be different. Are you looking for compositions and colors? I mean, how does it differ?
I love that. Then I see straight down. That's, for example, what I was mentioning before, up in the highlands. When you take straight down, then you can see the small creek trying to reach to the ocean and the moss all around. That's the different. Instead of angle it up, then you get too wide. You see too much, and sometimes it gets complicated. Like many landscape photographers, they like to zoom into the peaks and get just a part of the peak instead of the whole mountain. And sometimes you get more powerful photo that way. But then again, some like to have it wide and see it all. I don't mind. I only let my eye decide what I want to see.
Yeah.
If I feel like it, I do it. If I don't feel like it, I pack my gear and go home.
Yeah.
It's very simple.
I mean, the drone shots, they're just, I mean, they look like they've been beautifully composed. They just, just from an artistic point of view, obviously you were an oil painter first, so you'll have the eye for that kind of thing, but just the way that they're being, or they look like they've been set up just perfectly, and they got, good splashes of color in one area, and, maybe a river coming through, just the right area on the other side. They're like works of art that you could
Thank
very,
you.
very, very easily see on the wall. I mean, from the ground is one thing, but I'm appreciating brand newly, just from your drone photography, the actual artisticness that goes into that. Do you think, I mean, is that something that's come from your artistic kind of background, or is it just the way that you kind of see?
Yeah, that comes from when I was standing in the cold
With your
trying
oil
to paint.
paint.
Yeah.
It was worth it.
You know something, in the wintertime when it's the darkest here in Iceland, I used to go into my painting room, and then I painted mountains with lot of colors, sky with a lot of colors. That's because I needed color in my body. And because I didn't get it when it was 20 hours nighttime.
Yeah.
And I had to get the colors. And talking about the drone thing, sometimes I know what the area usually that I'm going to, or I have studied it. Then I fly over it. I instantly see something when I'm flying. This is it.
Yeah.
Then I back up and straight down and take the photo. That's the different, like I was mentioned, if you're in a helicopter or if you are your own pilot, you can always back up and see what you want and take it a little bit in this or this direction.
Yeah.
And then if it's not good enough, then you take it home and cut the picture. So it gets the right angle. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, speaking of post-processing, then what's your kind of your general technique when it comes to doing processing afterwards? Do you have a kind of a light touch, or do you like to bring out the colors quite a lot? What's your own personal kind of take on that?
It just differs from day to day. Sometimes I'm in the mood to have more colors than the other day. And next day I don't want to have as much colors in it, and then I reduce it. But I always do very similar things. I add a little sharpness to it, brightness if needed, and yeah, just let my eye and feeling tell me what I want to get out of this picture.
Yeah.
And even if I have a similar picture next to it, maybe on that picture I want totally different color scheme or lightning or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just, what day is it?
Whatever you feel like on the day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Then I
absolutely.
do it that way.
Yeah.
I'm not stuck in one thing.
Yeah, exactly. And like I say, it's art again, so it's it's your take on that, and I love it. They're beautiful. I'm very tempted to go onto your shop, but I need to I need to control myself. But speaking of drones again, have you ever had any near misses? I mean, obviously drones can't go up in a lot of wind. I'm guessing the same is true around volcanoes and things like that. Have you ever had any mishaps or any crashes or anything like that with your drone?
Yeah, the last time I went up to document where they expect to have the next volcano come, suddenly the drone said, this is enough. And
Oh, no.
Yeah, it happens. Well, that's part of the job. Then you have to just face it. And they were very good to me at DJI, and they just gave me another drone. Here you are. That's okay.
That's okay.
You carry on.
That's the ideal scenario. I suppose when you can go to DJI and say, my drone fell into a volcano or something similar, it sounds pretty a good way to lose a drone. If you're going to lose a drone, then that's not too bad. Eaten by lava. Do you travel outside Iceland at all, Rafn? Have you ever had the chance to travel further afield and take photos?
Yeah, I like the Asian countries. It's totally different photography if you are in Asia.
Yeah.
Philippines, I love the rice,
The rice.
the fish, and where they grow the rice in the, what do you call it, rice
Oh, I
fields?
thought you meant eating the rice. I thought you
No,
just
no, no, no.
you're a fan of rice. The rice
No, I'm
paddies.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of rice, but my wife is
Okay.
anyway.
Yeah. Photographing the
Uh,
rice paddies.
yeah, and because it's so totally different from Iceland, in Philippines or Vietnam, it's beautiful over there also. You have to take off your clothes instead of putting them on.
Yes.
And you different climate, different colors. Yeah, I love the Asia. It's probably it's because it's so far from what's happening in Iceland, and it's totally different.
Yeah.
Well, Greenland, that's nice also. I haven't been there, but they say it's nice. But the Asia, yeah, that's what I love also.
Do you get to travel there quite regularly then?
Yeah, I try to. Uh, I hopefully will go this year, and hopefully I will go in May and stay
Yeah.
there for 2 months or so.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, and then the summer is almost at our doorsteps when I come back, and I will start to go up to the Highlands from that day.
Yeah. So do you
Travel more.
do you showcase that photography as well? Obviously, you've got your own Iceland photo gallery. You've got Iceland stock photos. Do you have a website that has your own photography on it, like in different places outside Iceland?
No,
No,
I had
personal.
others, but I closed them down. It's enough to have one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, and I am on Behance or what it's called.
Yeah.
I love that place, and I show a lot of pictures over there. There are other photographers there, very good, very good, and I love their photography, and I love to show mine also there.
Yeah. Memorable moments, Rafn, besides losing your drones and things like that. You're obviously out and about a good part of the year in spectacular locations. What's a memorable moment maybe that sticks out to you? Is it just having a very, very good day in a beautiful landscape, or is there anything maybe that's happened that's kind of stuck out to you as a memorable day?
There are many memorable days because when you're driving on the highlands and on the glaciers, then suddenly the snowstorm comes and you don't see anything, and you lose a car down the crack. And then comes the problem of, did something happen to the driver, or is the car damaged? Yeah, we have had accidents, but fortunately no one has died, but we have lost some cars up in the glaciers. I remember one time I was in a snowy mountain, walking there, taking pictures, and when I came down to the car, I looked up, and then I saw a big avalanche coming down where I was standing. Sometimes when we are up in the highlands, it only takes to drive maybe 2 hours to the place that we are going to. Then suddenly the weather changes, and it takes us 12 to 20 hours to drive these 2 hours back.
Wow.
And everything is stuck, everything is in a mess, and that's beautiful.
Memorable, very memorable.
That's part of the fun of being a photographer.
I mean, that you're native Icelandic. You said you grew up, respecting Iceland. People traveling in the winter and trying to do those same kind of things. From a safety point of view, I mean, what's the wise thing to do? Is it always travel with a local guide, or do you need the background?
Never go alone if you go up to the highlands in the wintertime. Don't try it even, because you have to have the knowledge. You have to have a good car, You have to have everything in the car so you can survive to get back. When we are driving, when have been driving up in the highlands in the wintertime, we are always 2 or 3 cars. We have to be able to tow the next car, or because sometimes we are only going meter by meter. Get a guide. Today you can get monster trucks, sit in the monster truck, they know what they are doing, and don't do it, don't try it alone. Don't try it alone. That's just crazy.
Don't be an idiot.
That's just, we don't do it. The Icelanders don't do it, so don't you try to be a wise guy.
You mentioned bringing everything with you in the car and bringing extra cars as well. What's essential gear when you're shooting in Iceland in the kind of long winter months? Obviously photography wise, and then you mentioned before things like crampons and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, if you're talking about the human, then just dress well. Have an inner layer, an outer layer. Have your húfa and trefill on, scarf on everything. Dress extremely well, because it's very easy. If it gets hot, you can always take them off. But if you don't have them, then you're in trouble.
So what about gear as well? Photography gear. Do you take everything out with you and then decide what you're going to use at the time, or how does the gear stand up to the temperatures?
They are working quite well, usually, but sometimes no. Anyway, they are doing very well. I take the gear, everything I think I need with me, and when I'm up in the place where I expect to go photograph, I usually have to walk something, and then I pick out what I think I will need for this shooting. So I travel light from the car. I rather come back to the car and get more, and instead of, because if you get lost, you have to travel light so you can survive also.
Of course.
You don't get tired. That's part of it. Always remember, when you're up there, the weather can change whenever. It doesn't knock on your door, it just comes. But it's life here, and it's beautiful.
It's beautiful, and it sounds absolutely spectacular, and it's somewhere that I've seen so often on social media, and a lot of it kind of looks a little bit like Scotland, obviously not the volcanoes and things like that, but it doesn't surprise me how popular it is up there. But like you say, it's about, if you're going there, know where you're going, respect the area you're going to, travel with a guide if you're going in, in winter seasons, and just, be sensible in general. You mentioned gear there, and I know you're an ambassador for Kase filters as well. Do you have a filter that you use quite a lot when you're going out and about?
Yeah, soft graduate number 09. That's always on my camera. Almost always on my camera when I am landscape, or number 6. I use the CPL also. But these are the main. But early in the morning, it's good to have the center, the graduate also, because the light comes up from the horizon. It's good to balance that. And these are the one that I use most.
Ones.
I was using another brand of filters. It doesn't matter what brand that was, but it actually changed all the photography for me when I came in touch with the Kase. Because in Iceland, you are wearing gloves, you're cold, and evidently you will drop the glass always before it broke, and it scratched. But now I just go down, pick it up, dust it a little bit, stick it in again, and carry on. And to wipe off the glass, it turned my, it
it's a
changed
game
my life,
changer.
actually.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, no,
especially in a climate weather like this and always raining and everything.
Yeah, cold fingers, gloves. It's going to happen. I dropped a camera the other day with the filters on the front, and I've done that before, and it's broken, but it didn't. I mean, the camera slightly bounced, thankfully, and the filter was absolutely intact, which was incredible.
Yeah.
So you're right. It makes a huge difference.
It does. It does. Of course, you try to take care of it, but
yeah,
accident happens.
Yes, exactly, and that's the whole point, which I know people love that about them. Craig's asking, was it a reverse grad 0.9 or 1.2 that you were talking about there? I think
1.2.
1.2.
Yeah, the reverse.
Yeah,
because usually the horizon is so much brighter than the top and the bottom.
Yeah, yeah.
But the soft graduate is usually 0.9 or 0.6.
Okay. Chris, sorry, Craig. I do know who you are, Craig. Hopefully that answered your question. Just finally, because we're coming very quickly to an hour, Rafn, you're an oil painter. We mentioned that at the beginning, photographer, composer, musician. Do you have time for any other hobbies? Does that keep you going the whole year through?
Yeah, well, my wife gets the rest of the time.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Correct answer.
She's very, very tolerable with me. She's good with me. She let me play a lot, and yeah, she's very good.
Yeah.
So she gets my extra time.
Well, I'm sure she deserves it. Long-suffering photographers, wives and partners, as many of them are. We usually wrap up, Rafn, by asking about upcoming projects, but I think your project is one that's going to last you a lifetime. But what's next on your agenda?
Keep on. There is nothing special. I mean, this is special for me, and the next thing is just to keep on until the end.
Yeah.
Then comes the letters, the end.
So what's coming up next week, for example? Are you heading back out? Have you got a particular location you've got in your head that you want to go back to?
Yeah, I want to go up to the Faradalsfjall where the volcano was erupting, if that's possible. But the weather has been very bad for the last half a month or so. That's what I'm hoping. If not, then I will carry on near my home on the beach here. There are a lot of old stuff that I will try to document over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. If this one goes well, then I will go the other way.
Plenty of options. I love it.
Yeah.
Rafn, I would love even more so now to come to Iceland one of these days and have a look at some of the spectacular shots, that you've taken. And the drone shots have they're just, I know I've mentioned it before, but there's just something very, very special about them, and abstract and artistic, and quite a lot of the time I'm not even sure what I'm looking at, but absolutely beautiful.
If you can imagine you're something, then it's what you're looking at.
Yeah, well, I love that. I love that. That's I like that. Rafn, where can people get more information? We mentioned your books earlier on as well. Where can people look at what you're doing?
Iceland Photo Gallery. That's my webpage, and I try to put in a photo each and every day there. I'm also on Facebook under my name, this name over there.
I love that you're not. Yeah, there you go. You said it. You did try saying
it. Yeah. And on Behance on YouTube, it's all under my name also there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably where places. Everybody is. Yeah.
Yeah, Iceland Photo Gallery. Yeah, he's everywhere. If you go to icelandphotogallery.com, there's links on there to some of your social media pages as well. So that's probably a good place for people to start. Rafn, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for giving up a good chunk of your evening to chat to me tonight. And a big thank you as well to everybody in the chat who was commenting and asking questions as well. We're going to wrap it up there because we are just about to hit an hour. So as I mentioned at the beginning, if anybody came in a little bit late. You can rewatch this if you'd like to, or you can share it just when we finish. After a few minutes, it should hopefully be available to rewatch again. So do feel free to do that and pass it on to your friends. I will be back, I think, on the 27th of this month, which is 2 weeks today, I believe, chatting with another guest. I'm not sure who it is yet, but it'll be another good one, I'm sure. Same time, I think, 8 o'clock. But keep an eye on the Case Filters global platforms, Facebook and Instagram, stuff like that. But yeah, we are going to head away. So Rafn, thank you very much again. And I hope you have a good rest of your evening, and everybody else watching as well. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you next time. So good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.